There guys, welcome to the video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we're going to be using the Hazardous Propulsion, the Titan exotic, to get some damage done today. Now you've probably seen in some recent builds from other channels that the new hand cannon turncoat is absolutely broken with this exotic, but if we're working in an environment where there is no sort of glitching or bonus damage from weapons, this seems to fit the bill. Now we're using a primary auto as our kinetic weapon alongside a caster frame sword and bombarding our enemies with arc grenades. Gives us really good barricade generation, lots of missiles going out, and nice amount of super generation as well. So if you want to see a little bit more, hang around guys, let's go through it. Now I must start off by saying that this sort of damage rotation I saw, this isn't my own creation. I did see this on another creator's channel. Now his name's Duck D2. I've been watching him for a very long time, and look, Duck tends to have a lot of builds that are like ability spam, and just figuring out how to get the abilities back as quick as possible just to dish out as much damage. So I actually saw this in one of his shorts. I thought I'd try and adapt it to my own sort of build. So that's where the inspirations come from this one. Do go and check his stuff out. I know he's a lot bigger than I am in terms of creation, but he's got some really, really good builds together. Does a lot of high level content as well. So make sure you go and check him out. All right, let's get into the build, guys. So the weapon we're using today primarily is going to be the Quicksilver Storm. So it's an exotic primary. You can get this via the Lightfall campaign or via the usual means at the tower, so Monument to Lost Light. But you can pick this up. It is a very reliable auto rifle. Now, it is an auto rifle that is the unstoppable trait. So it's an unstoppable trait, and it has an RPM, so rounds per minute 720. Now, this is usually reserved for weapons that use overload. So you've got a hard-hitting auto rifle firing a much higher round per minute than the usual ones do. And you get the ability, as you can see there in the intrinsic perk, missile traces, landing multiple hits, turns your next shot into a homing micro missile. Now, that's going to work really well with the exotic today, but we'll get into that shortly. Let's go over our heavy weapon we're using too. Now, we're using this Chivalric Fire again. Now, we haven't used this in the most recent video, but it is a bit of a return. Now, the reason we're using Chivalric Fire is because the anti-barrier ability in the intrinsic trait there, it is a caster frame. So caster frame means we can use indirect damage to damage our enemies, which it actually outputs a lot of damage. And our two perks is going to be Collective Action and Collective Demolition. So every time we pick up an elemental pickup, in this case, it's going to be Ionic Traces for our arc build. It's going to give us grenade ability regeneration alongside damage stacking on the weapon itself. Now, Collective Demolition will get our grenade cooldown down to about 5 or 6 seconds, so the rotation with that damage will be really quick. But we need a lot of Ionic Traces, and you're probably wondering, well, how do we get a lot of those? Well, again, our armor set is going to tie everything together. So we've got homing missile rockets on our primary, we've got the ability to get our grenade regeneration happening on our power weapon, and then with the armor set, and that's going to be the one on screen. So Yearning Echo, it's the Descending Echo armor set from Grasp of Avarice. It's the dungeon, so the 30th anniversary dungeon. It's a very approachable activity. I know some people don't like dungeon activities and raids, but this one is quite approachable. So just jump into Fire Team Finder. You'll generally find a team that'll help you out. And yeah, you should be able to pick up some armor pieces for yourself. That being the case, though, you can see here the description. So 2-piece pickup, ammo, orbs of power, elemental pickups, which is what we're chasing. Grant stacks of Untold Greed, slightly reducing damage taken, providing reload speed to equip weapons. Now, that's not where it's sort of it's a good benefit, but we're looking at the next one. While you have stacks of Untold Greed, orbs of power and elemental pickups provide more of their respective energy, so that's exactly what we want. Now, we're getting a lot of Ionic Traces through this build. This will benefit us by giving us more energy, and the fact that we can generate more Ionic Traces using our aspects. Now, I should mention aspect because we're sort of leaning into one more than the other, but the first one is Touch of Thunder. Now, if you look at the pulse grenade description there, creates Ionic Traces periodically as it damage targets and increases in damage over time. Now, this is perfect. Gives us more Ionic Traces, getting energy back really quick, so our barricade and our grenade energy is coming back a little bit quicker, alongside our collective demolition on the sword and our armor set bonus. Now, the other aspect we're going to use is obviously going to be Storm's Keep. Now, because we're putting down so many barricades, it only makes sense that we use this. And we're going to be generating a lot of bolt charge with this. Because we're generating bolt charge, I thought the Fragment Spark of Ions was probably the best choice. Now, Spark of Ions will activate. So when you defeat an enemy with bolt charge, you'll get a ionic trace occurring from that enemy. Now, it only occurs about once every 8 seconds. It is on a cooldown. But you never know when you might just need one more elemental charge just to get your abilities up. Okay, let's go through the fragments just quickly, just get a quick overview. So, Spark of Discharge. Now, we want this more for collecting an ionic trace, granting you a stack of bolt charge. And then, obviously, into Spark of Irons, defeating a jolted target or defeating a target with bolt charge creates ionic trace. So, they work in tandem. Get some bolt charge, get an ionic trace, get an ionic trace, get some bolt charge. Spark of Recharge, while critically wounded, because sometimes in the high level activities you'll find yourself with not a lot of health. Grenade energy comes back a little bit more quicker. And then the Spark of Magnitude, so your lingering arc grenades, so a pulse grenade, has extended duration. And we know with the aspect, it causes more damage, and the more it sticks around, the more grenade energy we're going to get. Before we go through the armor sets, let's have a look at the actual chest piece itself. So, Hazardous Propulsion. Now, danger close. Weapon precision hits or final blows have a chance to load a kinetic Exodus micro missile. Now, Quicksilver Storm seems to load these really quickly. You can get 6 missiles extremely fast. And then activating your class ability fires loaded micro missiles. So, you're damaging targets with the micro missiles, temporarily increases the damage you deal with other micro missiles. And rocket launchers. Now, we're not using rocket launchers, but Quicksilver Storm does use micro missiles, as we knew that the damage over time, if you damage an enemy enough, then it will generate a micro missile too. So, because you're putting so many barriers down, getting so many of these activations for Hazardous, you're always going to have this benefit of the micro missile boost damage. All right, let's go over the armor mods. So we'll go with the overview that we've got, and we've got our stats there too. Let's go over the overview. So our helm has two siphons. So we've got the kinetic and an arc, and then a dynamo. So dynamo, every time we activate our class ability, that's going to give us a bit of super. Our arms, we've got our dexterity mods, so 2 void and 1 kinetic, and that is to balance out changing our weapons between the Quicksilver Storm and our Chivalric Fire Sword. The chest plate, we've got a damage resistant mod there. Now, I've got 2 ammo generation mods there. They should be Lucent Blade. So Lucent Blade, it's on the first page. It's going to give us enhanced charge rates, so make sure you select those. I've just left those other ones there, unfortunately. I haven't noticed it, so my apologies there. On the legs, we've got elemental charge. So every time we pick up a elemental pickup, it's going to give us an armor charge. Now, because we're going to have so many ionic traces occurring, it's basically going to be maximum armor charge all the time. Alongside our legs, we've got the Better Already and Innovation. So every time we pick up an orb, that starts our health generation, but it will also give us a chunk of health too. So it keeps us healthy. Now, the mark, it's going to be Powerful Attraction, 1 of Reaper, and then a Time Dilation. Now, the Time Dilation is there if you want to change Elemental Charge for a Surge mod, then you can use that. And then we'll basically have Armor Charge all the time. You won't ever need to worry about it regenning because you'll basically have it up all the time, pretty much at a maximum. So that's why I've got that there. That is just an option. Now, in terms of artifacts, guys, there's probably 2 you can choose. Now, I've been leaning into the Repulsion Regulator a little bit more. It just offers just a little bit more. So Lightning Strikes twice, especially every time you use an arc grenade, it will give you increased grenade generation. So that's sort of where I've been at. But if you want to lean more into like an amplified build, I think Hunter's Journal might be the better option because you can utilize Shield Crush and that will give you grenade generation too. So it's a bit of a pick and choose. Hunter's Journal does have blade stamina as well, so that will give you sword ammo. It's really down to a preference. I didn't see a lot of difference between the 2. They both bring benefits to the table. It's probably more just a taste thing, so just keep those in mind. Now, the backup weapon we're using for Quicksilver Storm is Unfile. So it's a sidearm, it fires micro missiles, so you get the benefit alongside Hazardous. Disruption Break with jolting feedback gives it a big punch, big damage. Look, you're probably not going to be using it too much, but every now and then when you see a shielded enemy and you just need to blast that shield and then knock them down with your other weapons there, it's a great backup to have. All right, guys, well, that's going to be the build for today, so thanks very much for hanging around. I had a lot of fun with this one. Hope you guys do too. Always looking for feedback on the builds. Now, I know, look, it's probably not the hardest hitting. It's probably not the best, but it is a lot of fun, and that's what I aim to make. So, a lot of fun builds, maybe a little bit different to the usual stuff. So if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure you that subscribe button, because then you'll get some notifications that there's going to be a new one. Otherwise, yeah, look, thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.